You walk into a grocery store, and for a second, you think you've accidentally stepped into a warehouse in 1995. There are no fancy displays, the milk is still on the shipping pallet, and the cashier? They're sitting down, scanning your items so fast, it looks like they're trying to break a world record. But then you look at the receipt. $42 for a full week of groceries. In an era where your normal supermarket trip feels like a down payment on a house, Aldi is out here defying the laws of inflation. You've heard the rumors that it's cheap because the quality is lower or that they're cutting corners on safety. After 15 years of analyzing retail supply chains and watching how big box giants manipulate your psychology to empty your wallet, I can tell you, everything you think you know about why Aldi is cheap is probably wrong. They aren't just saving you money, they are running the most efficient logistics machine on the planet. And frankly, the big-name stores are terrified you'll figure out how they're doing it. The first thing you notice at a traditional grocery store is the wall of cereal. You have 50 different brands of toasted oats. At Aldi, you have one, maybe two. You might think that's a lack of variety, but here's the secret. Choice is expensive. When a store stocks 40,000 different items, they have to manage 40,000 different supply chains. They have to pay for the shelf space, the marketing, and the massive waste when that niche organic dragon fruit granola doesn't sell. Aldi only stocks about 1,500 items. By narrowing the focus, they have massive buying power. When Aldi goes to a supplier, they don't say, "We want to buy some milk." They say, "We want to buy all the milk." Because they buy in such massive bulk for so few items, they get prices that Walmart can only dream of. Now you see those brands like Millville or Happy Farms, and you think, "I've never heard of these." Here is where it gets crazy. About 90% of what you see in an Aldi is a private label. But private label doesn't mean lower quality. In fact, many of those products are made in the exact same factories as the big-name brands you pay double for. I've seen the production lines. 1 hour they're bottling a famous $6 name brand pasta sauce, and the next hour they're switching the label to the $2 Aldi version. Same ingredients, same recipe, different sticker. You're not paying for better tomatoes at the other store. You're paying for that brand's Super Bowl commercial. You've seen the cart system. You have to put a quarter in to get a cart, and you only get it back when you return it. Most people think, wow, they're really worried about people stealing these $50 plastic carts. Wrong. Aldi doesn't care about the cart. They care about the labor. Think about your local big supermarket. They have to hire 2 or 3 teenagers whose entire job is to wander the parking lot, dodging cars, and rounding up stray carts. That costs money, wages, insurance, taxes. By making you the cart return person for the price of a quarter, Aldi eliminates an entire job category from their payroll. And that brings us to the most controversial part of the Aldi experience, the checkout. If you've ever felt personally attacked by how fast an Aldi cashier scans your food, you aren't imagining it. They are literally being timed. In my years tracking retail metrics, I've rarely seen anything like this. Aldi cashiers are expected to scan roughly 40 to 60 items per minute. For comparison, the average grocery store is happy with 20. But it's not just that the employees are fast, the products are designed for it. Look closely at an Aldi cereal box. It doesn't have one tiny barcode on the bottom. It has massive barcodes on the top, the sides, and the back. The cashier doesn't have to find the code. They just slide it across the glass. But there's a darker side to this efficiency that most shoppers never see. Something happens the moment you leave that checkout line that changes the math of your entire bill. I know this sounds like a lot of inside baseball, but stick with me, because we're going to look at the aisle of shame and why Aldi actually wants you to buy a chainsaw next to your sourdough bread. If you're starting to realize just how much the big guys have been overcharging you for the luxury of choosing between 40 types of peanut butter, hit that subscribe button. We're just getting started. Moving right along, because if you're at Aldi, moving along is the only speed they allow. We've talked about the barcodes and the quarters, but there is a specific part of the store that defies all logic. You went in for a gallon of milk and a bag of spinach, and somehow you're walking out with a 12-foot garden hose, a pair of memory foam slippers, and a high-end espresso machine. Welcome to the aisle of shame. In the industry, we call this the Aldi finds section, but to the fans, it's the aisle of shame. It's that middle aisle filled with random, non-grocery items that change every single week. From a retail strategy perspective, this is pure genius. Most stores use loss leaders, like cheap milk or eggs, to get you in the door, hoping you'll buy high markup items like soda or pharmacy goods. Aldi does the opposite. They provide the lowest prices on the essentials to build your trust. Then they hit you with the limited time only FOMO. Because these items are, when they're gone, it triggers a specific part of your brain. You don't think, do I need a crane-shaped floor lamp? You think, if I don't buy this crane lamp right now, it will be gone forever. It's a treasure hunt that keeps you coming back every Wednesday just to see what's new. And since their overhead is so low, their profit margin on that lamp is significantly higher than on the bread you just bought. Have you ever noticed how bright and airy a high-end grocery store feels? The fancy lighting, the misting systems for the vegetables, the beautiful displays. Every single one of those vibes is added to your grocery bill. All these stores are designed to be black boxes. They are small, usually around 12,000 square feet compared to the 60,000 square feet of a typical supermarket. Smaller stores mean lower rent, lower heating and cooling bills, and, crucially, fewer steps for the employees. But here's the detail that really lowers your price: the boxes. If you look at the shelves, you'll notice that Aldi doesn't really have shelves in the traditional sense. Most products are still in the cardboard boxes they were shipped in. In a normal store, an employee spends hours stocking, taking individual jars of pickles out of a box and lining them up perfectly on a shelf. At Aldi, the employee just cuts the front off the box and slides the whole thing onto the rack. It's called display-ready packaging. It cuts labor costs by nearly 50%. You aren't paying for someone to make the pickles look pretty, you're just paying for the pickles. Now, you might be asking, if they don't have a lot of staff and the stores are small, where is all the extra stock? Here's the truth: there isn't any. Most grocery stores have massive back rooms filled with inventory. Aldi operates on a just-in-time delivery system. Their logistics are so precise that the food often goes from the truck to the shelf in minutes. They don't pay to store inventory because inventory is just frozen cash. By keeping the back room tiny, they maximize every square inch of the store for selling. It's a lean, mean grocery selling machine that makes your local megamart look like a slow, bloated dinosaur. But it's not just about the boxes and the buildings, it's about the people. At a traditional store, you have a baker, a butcher, a cashier, and a stocker. At Aldi, that person scanning your groceries at Mach 5 is also the person who was just stocking the milk. And they might be the one cleaning the floor 5 minutes from now. They cross-train everyone to do everything. This is why Aldi can run an entire multi-million-dollar store with only 3 or 4 people on the clock. It sounds intense, and it is, but they pay their staff significantly more than the industry average because those employees are doing the work of 3 people. But wait, if they're saving all this money on labor and lighting, why are some people still convinced that the meat is weird or the produce doesn't last? We're going to go deep into the quality myth, and I'm going to show you the one gotcha that Aldi uses to make sure you never actually leave their ecosystem. It's a strategy called vertical integration, and it's the reason they can sell a dozen eggs for a price that feels like a typo. Before we hit the final stretch, do me a favor. Comment below with the weirdest thing you've ever found in the aisle of shame. I once found a full-sized outdoor pizza oven next to a 10-pack of socks. Let's see if you can beat that. We've covered the lightning-fast cashiers, the aisle of shame traps, and the cardboard box logistics. But now we have to address the elephant in the room: the quality. There's a persistent myth that if a steak is that cheap, the cow must have lived a sad life, or that the produce is one day away from turning into soup. As someone who has spent over a decade auditing food quality standards, I'm going to let you in on a secret that the premium grocers spend millions of dollars to hide from you. Most stores have a return policy. Aldi has a twice as nice guarantee. If you aren't happy with a product, they don't just give you your money back. They give you your money back and a replacement product. Think about the math there. A company that sells low-quality items would go bankrupt in a week with a policy like that. They can afford to do this because their private label brands aren't just generic knockoffs. They are highly engineered. Because Aldi owns the brand, they have total control over the ingredients. They've actually been ahead of the curve on removing certified synthetic colors, partially hydrogenated oils, and added MSG from their entire private label line. They aren't cutting quality to save money. They are cutting the marketing department of the brand name companies. You're eating the same, or better, food. You're just not paying for the logo. You ever wonder how Aldi can sell eggs or milk so much cheaper than the guy down the street? It's called vertical integration. In many cases, Aldi works so closely with suppliers that they basically dictate the entire production process. They own the distribution centers, the trucks, and in some regions, they have exclusive contracts with the farms. By removing the middleman, who takes a 10% cut at every stage of the journey, they pass that 10, 20, or 30% directly to your receipt. Now, here is the one truth that might actually make you a little mad. Aldi isn't trying to be your only grocery store. They know they only carry 1,500 items. They know you might still need that one specific brand of hairspray or a very niche spice they don't carry. The gotcha is that they make the essentials so cheap that you feel rich while you're shopping. When you see your total is only $30, you're much more likely to swing by the aisle of shame and grab that $20 weighted blanket. Their strategy is to win on the needs so they can tempt you on the wants. They have turned grocery shopping from a chore into a high-speed, high-saving sport. So, is it worth the stress of bringing your own bags, bagging your own groceries, and racing a cashier who's faster than a Tesla? If you're someone who values the experience, the soft music, the helpful clerk who carries your bags, the 50 options of olive oil, then no, you'll probably hate it. But if you're tired of feeling like you're being robbed every time you walk through a checkout lane, the truth is simple. Aldi didn't lower the quality of the food. They just stopped charging you for the fluff. The next time you're standing in that parking lot, putting your quarter back in your pocket, just remember, that quarter represents a retail revolution that is finally putting the power back in the consumer's wallet. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go see if that crane-shaped floor lamp is still in stock. If this deep dive changed how you look at your grocery receipt, do me a favor. Hit the like button and share this with that one friend who still refuses to shop at the box store. I'll see you in the next video.